Hi, I'm Nancy and welcome to Nancy's Bookcase. Today's book review is going to be on Your Last First Kiss by Avery Maxwell. This is on Kindle Unlimited. I don't know if you can buy a paper version. Probably can. Typically you can. This book is the first book I've read by this author. I'm going to say it's a pretty decent read. I didn't read it all in one sitting. I probably read it in a couple days, but it wasn't too bad. So the main female character, Penny, she's a single mom with 3 rowdy boys. She's very exhausted. She has an ex-husband who is definitely just trouble. Trouble all around. Not a good thing, for sure. Definitely not a good thing. So Penny has determined for herself that she is not going to be dating anyone. She doesn't want to get into a relationship. She doesn't have time for a relationship. She is too busy taking care of her boys. She can't add any more to her plate. Her family is more than she can handle, and then she doesn't even really have time for herself. Typical single mom stereotype. So felt very typical, and so that's good. Dylan, who is the main male character, he is, as she says, the only guy that makes her life easier. She has him nicknamed as Mr. Wednesday because on every Wednesday he comes to her office to meet with her boss and brings her coffee and sits and talks with her as they drink their coffee together. So it's essentially a standing Wednesday coffee date, and which is really sweet. She finds him thoughtful and also very handsome, and this goes on for 3 years. And in the evenings, when it's time for bed, her mind will wander to Dylan because ultimately she really likes Dylan, but she doesn't feel like she has the time to give for him to have a relationship with him. So one day, her world gets turned upside down when he shows up on her doorstep and pretty much demands to be taken out of the friend zone. He tells her that he wants more, and he understands that her life is chaotic and he doesn't necessarily want to change that, but he just wants to be part of it and everything that comes with her life. So with that being said, that's kind of the synopsis of the book. And Dylan just essentially wants to take care of Penny. That's the only thing he wants to do. And Penny doesn't want anyone to take care of her. Not really. She wants to be able to do it herself. She's a strong female and just wants to do it herself. So, in the end, can Dylan change Penny's mind? Is the question. So, I gave this book a 3 on the spicy scale. The scenes weren't overly crazy. I want to say there were only 2 or 3 scenes that I remember in the book, and they weren't too bad. They weren't anything too crazy. They were pretty typical contemporary romance scenes. Not too descriptive, but descriptive enough. And then the book itself, I gave a 3-star to. Now, the reason it got a 3-star, the book is sweet. It really is. It's sweet. I think it's sweet for everything that Dylan's willing to do so that Penny's life can be easier, but also, you know, he still gets what he wants. But the book itself, I felt like it jumped around. the plot goes from one side to, like, it starts in one spot, and then the next thing you know, you flip to the next chapter. It's not really concluded, so the next chapter jumps to another plot point. And so for some, that's definitely a problem. For me, it did feel like a problem, especially when it jumped like 3 months in the future. That was definitely a problem. I was like, wait, what happened? So it didn't come to conclusions on some of the areas of the book that I really thought it should. So that was a problem. The plot line itself, because it jumped around, it felt very inconsistent. So, which is kind of disappointing. I feel like there were sections where it drug out, and you got the gist of, like, you really got what was happening without them needing to go into great explanation. But then the areas that you needed more explanation was just not there. And that just felt very rushed. I did not like how the main characters in both aspects were being manipulated in the situation. It felt very much like they were being manipulated. And let's see. And then there also should be some trigger warnings that aren't necessarily listed in, like, the first of the book, like most of the time they are. Maybe they were in the author's note. No. Yeah. Well, I guess maybe they are. The book itself has substance abuse and alcoholism in it. And then it also, like I said, main characters are being manipulated. Dylan, in a way, is kind of forceful, and so that could be a problem. But at the same time, he's really showing love, patience, kindness, trying to build trust with them. But himself, he was abused and neglected. There's some postpartum depression covered in the book, and even death. And so I really feel like those should have been brought, like, further up. Not just in the author's note, but there should have been a note about that, because those triggers can definitely be a problem for people. And in some ways, I didn't necessarily like that. I understand there are topics that need to be covered, but they're not the best when it comes to all of them in one book. It becomes very hard to read, especially when the book involves young kids, like this one does. But anyway, I did enjoy the book, which is why I gave it a 3-star. I would recommend it if you enjoy kind of the main character being a strong female and the male character really just wanting to be there to support her. So I did enjoy that aspect. He wasn't trying to be pushy in most cases, but you could feel like it could be pushy. So anyway, The Last First Kiss, I gave it a 3 on both the star and on the spice level. Spice level, I want to say there were only 2, maybe 3 spicy scenes in the book. There weren't a lot, and they definitely were spice, like, scenes you could skip over. They weren't necessarily huge plot points, but so you could skip them if something like that would be uncomfortable, and you wouldn't be missing a whole lot of content. So yeah, Last First Kiss by Avery Maxwell. I don't know why I forgot her name, but Last First Kiss by Avery Maxwell was definitely good, and I read it within, I want to say, 72 hours. So pick it up give it a chance. And then if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. Any book suggestions that you think I should read, go ahead and leave those as well. And until next time, happy reading, book friends.